Whoa. Hello. Happy Sunday, everyone. This feels, whoa, got some feedback here. All right, there we go. Welcome. How's everyone doing? Even though there's only, it looks like there's only two of you here right now, which is great. I'm glad you're able to make it at this odd time. Where's this feedback coming from? Hold on one second. Oh, I hadn't open the window. What's up, 88 Opus? Welcome. Happy Sunday. I don't know if any of you remember Terrence. I got Terrence behind me.
What's up, guys?
I'm sure you'll start seeing Terrence a little more.
Yes, more and more.
Sorry, sorry if you see my shirt being a little moist per se. I just came back from the gym. I was definitely rushing.
Gotta get a workout in?
Had to get a workout in. I got to go work. Well, I got a workout in. I didn't get a good workout in.
Hey, man, come on.
What I got, this Sunday, the Sunday stream is this is new to me. Hopefully you can hear me pretty well. Hopefully the audio is all good. What's up, Auto Exec? So today should be good. We should be able to run through this pretty fast because I doubt there'll be a lot of people to ask questions. Hopefully everyone will get to go back and watch in the evening. What's up, Anthony Roberts? Hello from the UK. Welcome. I guess, I don't know if it's happy Brexit or not happy Brexit. I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it either, but I know that's a big thing for you all over in the UK right now. So hopefully you're dealing with that fine. But cool, tonight, or not even tonight, today, this afternoon, let's pull up the stuff. Today we're gonna be going over some web server stuff. And this is gonna be a good one because this is kind of, after the protocols and stuff that we learned last time, this is gonna be like the base of how kind of the internet works, how the way that kind of application and software is delivered to you. So let's just check out what we're going to learn today. We'll hop into the slides. Hopefully the slides should have dropped in the Google Classroom at 11. I'm pretty sure I adjusted the time accordingly. There is more content in the Google Classroom that I did not change to drop at 11. So that will drop at 7, I believe. I did not have time to go back and do that. So cool, tonight, we're gonna learn about web server concepts, like how do we serve content over the web? How is all this stuff getting to you? Even this stuff right here, even the stuff from, Twitch, how is it getting to you? And we'll go over live how to set some of the stuff up. We're gonna set up some load balancers and reverse proxies and firewalls and stuff like that. So we're gonna do all this manually. So if you're someone who's familiar with AWS and some of the cloud computing things, some of the stuff's a little bit easier now, but we're gonna learn how to do it kind of manually by hand because you're not always gonna have this stuff accessible to you. We're gonna be using Nginx to do all that. What's up, Angry Mohawk? Got a big transfer chewing of all my things. Just cue the video audio freezing. It looks good on my monitor on my end. Hopefully it's not freezing on yours. Sounds like you use a load balancer. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and hop into it because we're going to do a lot of stuff manually. And I think last time, I'm pretty sure this took a really long time. And this time, I don't want it to take so long. So let's hop right into our slides. As usual, we'll go over the concepts and then we'll get going. Where are we going here? Is anyone here a football fan? Who are you rooting for today?
Chiefs.
I have the Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Okay. I have no horse in this race, to be honest. Again, I'm a Redskins fan. I'm a Redskins fan. So as long as the Patriots aren't in it, I'm good. I'm just gonna have a good time. This is usually this almost always falls on my brother's birthday weekend, so it's gonna be nice. Another reason, one of the biggest reasons why we moved this up. Again, I wanted to give everyone their time with their family, but this is usually my week, a good weekend with my family because I'm doing this stuff so much nowadays. I'm working so much nowadays. It's gonna be nice to go hang out with my brother, chill with my nieces and nephews and my parents. Whether or not I care about the football game or not, it's gonna be fun. So, okay, slides. I forgot just that fast. Drive. Let's see. We want web service and web traffic management. What's up, Afro Chack? Afro Hack, man. I can't see it because it's overlaying the chat in the corner, and I got that a little bit wrong. But welcome. So let's go ahead and but looks like my server is acting up again to get my mouse and my keyboard down to my Linux computer, which means I'm probably losing internet down here. We don't have time for this today. No. It's not that. It just, no, it's not bandwidth. It's this computer doesn't have a good Wi-Fi. This laptop doesn't have a good Wi-Fi card. So it's not a problem. We just have to put away our good mouse and keyboard, and we have to use the actual computer's mouse and keyboard. Keyboard, I guess you can call it. All right. What's up, Adam? No biggie. You're not running late. We're just getting started. And yes, again, for everyone who doesn't know, everyone who didn't check us out last time, Terrence was actually in the engineering panel that we did at the end of the year. He'll be here checking some things out. Hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of him. Like I said, we're trying to offer more. He has a different expertise than I do. So, he has different expertise than I do. Different personality as well. So it'd be good to, I think some people would benefit from learning from him rather than me, or both of us hearing content from two perspectives. I think will be good. So we're gonna we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you more about how we're gonna make this happen. But yeah, just he's here to say hi. Hopefully you can say hi to him. Yes.
Yes. Speak to me. Hi.
Cool. All right, so so just a little, just a little information. Web servers and traffic management is what we're doing today. I always throw in these random quotes and stuff at the bottom. I think of them just randomly. Hey, Adam, thank you for the subscription. Welcome to the family, even though you've already been a part of the family. I'll get you the information for the Google Classroom. But I just throw these things at the bottom. Some of them don't make sense. It's literally what the first thing that comes to mind. It's dumb, just to have a little bit of fun. So ground control to Major Tom has nothing to do with real traffic management, because the actual song, which I think is a David Bowie song, I don't know, I've heard it a couple times, and I don't think it has anything to do with planes. I think it said ground control, so I was thinking air traffic control. Just don't worry about it. I think someone already messaged me about it. It's fine. Just don't worry about it. All right, so usually we try to keep the... Oh, appreciate the re-up. Well, welcome back to the family. Awesome. So, web servers. So usually we try to keep it not so wordy. We usually try to keep it not so wordy, but I thought this was valuable to put on here. Again, this is, our definitions are generally pulled right from Wikipedia, right from Google somewhere. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. Don't sweat it. You do not need to memorize this at all. Just cover up some of the concepts. So a web server, what does it do? It stores and delivers the content for a website. Such as text, images, video, and application data to clients that request it. So this is like you do these things every day. You request data basically from a website. You request data from Google. You request data from hopefully not Yahoo, but you request data from Facebook, from Instagram, Twitter, all these things. Your web browser allows you to make these requests, and these web servers actually in turn interpret what you're asking for and return data to you, again, such as text, images, videos, and application data. The most common type of client is a web browser. So again, that's like your Google Chrome, your Safari if you're on Mac. This is the most common thing to request data, but there are other ways to request data as well. Which requests data from your website when a user clicks on a link or downloads a document on a page displayed in the browser. So very simple. A web server is what processes the request that you make, that your browser makes, which is a client. So remember some of the words that we're throwing out here. Client is one you're going to hear very often, and it's going to apply in other places as well. When people are talking about the client, they're usually talking about the web browser, the person who is requesting the data, or whatever machine is requesting the data. Again, usually that's going to be a browser. But cool. A web server communicates with a web browser using we just learned this, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, so HTTP. This is the protocol of the web. What port is that? Port 80. So remember that something to write down. Very important. The content of most web pages is encoded in hypertext markup language. So HTML, you probably heard of HTML. Even if you don't know it, this is the basic framework of structuring the output of the web, of things that are displayed over HTTP. This content can be static. So static means it doesn't change. For example, text and images. Or dynamic. So dynamic are things that can grab data, can change, be modified on the page. For example, a computed price or the list of items that a customer has marked for purchase. So things like your cart might be a dynamic thing on a web page that updates and adjusts as you make changes to it. So to deliver dynamic content, most web servers support server-side scripting languages to encode business logic into the communication. Commonly supported languages include ASP, JavaScript, PHP, Python, and Ruby. So what that is saying is what web servers allow you to do is you do not need a web server to serve static content. That is not necessary. But to serve dynamic content, web servers allow you to use a server-side scripting language to process the data and deliver it accordingly. So this is a lot of what this is a huge part of DevOps. This piece specifically right here is a huge part of DevOps. Usually, we're trying to get these pipelines in place. Usually, we're trying to get we're trying to get these pipelines in place for these server-side scripting languages to be built by the developers to serve data, to serve information, to process information for our customer. And usually, we're trying to get the infrastructure set up, the web servers and things set up to handle how that works, how those things handle the server-side scripting languages. So cool. Off topic. What's this 1 day remaining for my sub? Subs are a monthly construct. If you subscribe a single time, you get access to the Google Classroom. So don't sweat it. Not super necessary that you resub. If you got free subs available, feel free to resub. But it is a monthly construct in Twitch. So subscribing for all 3 months will be $15. What's up, T-Bell? This is he's right behind. This is his first follow there, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Here, man. I had to sign up the
all good. So that's what a web server is. So what are some of the common web servers that we can that are out there? What are some of the common ones that are used? So Apache is probably still the largest web server. Probably the largest one. It's huge. And yeah, it's commonly used. It's really good for dynamic content. I believe it's used a lot. It's used a lot. It's used in LAMP stacks. Have you ever heard of a LAMP stack? Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So things like WordPress, really like Drupal, all the common content management systems. Like WordPress runs something like 30% of the entire internet. So Apache is really good. Is a really good web server for serving that data. It's tried and true. Relatively simple to use. Tons of documentation. But yeah, pretty huge thing. Apache Tomcat, this is also an Apache service. This is a web server to serve Java applications. If you're doing Java stuff, Tomcat's great. I don't really like anything Java related, but Apache Tomcat is a big one that you'll run into. What's that?
JSP.
Yeah, yep, JSP, things like that. Nginx, I put here a little bit bigger. Now, Nginx is not the biggest web server right now, but it's arguably the most important right now. And the reason that is because of the way that distributed computing has evolved. Nginx allows for the management of that a lot easier. It's at the heart of a lot of things now. And it's the one that we're going to focus on. And again, it's not me saying that it's the best. You can achieve a lot with all of these web servers, but Nginx is, I think, the most relevant for you right now, especially with things like microservices and its simplicity. But yeah, it's a good web server that a lot of people are using. It's gaining immense steam for sure. Also, all these are open source except for this last one, which is Microsoft IIS. So if you're using a Windows server, although you could use Apache or Nginx on those servers, Microsoft does include Microsoft IIS, which is, I have no idea what it is. Maybe let's look it up real quick so you have this information. I have used IIS before, and it works. It works just fine. It works just fine, but I definitely, again, this is only gonna be something you're gonna be using if you're on Windows servers. Internet Information Services is what you would use. So yes, that's what that is. All right. Nginx is more of a reverse proxy, isn't it? No, it's not. So yes, it is heavily used as a reverse proxy. So again, that is why nowadays it is good for a lot of the microservices and distributed computing, but it is not just a reverse proxy. It's not more of a reverse proxy. It's absolutely a web server. It's really good at serving static content, to be honest. But yes, it is not just a reverse proxy. And it's also the main thing. A lot of people are using it for that. What's up, Rappa game? Rapapa game. This is the hardest part. What's up, Pa Rappa the Rappa game? We're always turning IS off. That's fair. Blocksport 80. Cool. So those are the main web servers. There are more web servers. There's Light HTTPD. There's a few others. But yeah, these are the most common ones that you'll run across. And I just wanted to deliver these to you just so you had an idea of what they are. Again, if you're going to dive into any of them, I do recommend Nginx, but if your job is using Apache or something else or Tomcat, feel free to dive into those things. The concepts, for the most part, they all have major features that differ that make them good and bad. But for the most part, the concepts of web servers and serving web content remains standard across all of them. So, you can pick up the concepts from one and be able to easily apply them to another one. So let's start doing stuff live. So how do you install a web server? Let's get a web server installed. If it's live, we're going to do this. And that is the skinny Anthony Anderson. So we're gonna hop back into our. We're gonna hop over to Amazon. Don't sweat it. You don't need to follow again. Remember, we talked about following the concepts. Make sure you understand the concepts. You do not need to. As of right now, you don't need to be spinning up a web server. You can do all this locally. I could do this all locally, but for some of the demos, I'm going to show you. I want to have some more systems. If you have VMs or whatever, you can use those things. Let me get logged into AWS really quick, and I'll make it larger so that you can actually see. Oh, they make you make 10 minutes. I might open up the chat one day. All right. So we're gonna go in here, and last time we were in here, we spun up a web server. I'm actually gonna delete that web server. We have one running instance. That was the SSH test server. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove that really quick, and we're actually gonna spin up. Well, for now, we're just gonna spin up one. I think we're gonna use a total of 4 or 5 instances today. Again, just to show you, just to display some concepts. You do not need to do this part. And again, like I said, you can do this locally. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna spin up again, only because during the Linux piece we did Ubuntu. I'm gonna spin up some Ubuntu servers rather than Amazon Linux or something else. That's the only reason I'm choosing it, not because it's any easier to do this stuff with. It's actually pretty simple on all these things. But I think, again, just to some continuity from the things that we've already learned. So we're just going to use the micro stuff here as storage. We don't really need any storage, but I'll leave it at this. Let's give it a name tag. And let's call this web server install. Security group. So this is a web server. So I'm going to open up, again, we said that the web works over port 80, which is the HTTP protocol. So I'm going to open up port 80. And again, we're going to talk about firewalls later. This is your first view basically of a type of firewall. We're going to talk about that later. Existing key pair. We'll use this SSH test one because I know that is on this machine. Or I could have created a new one. So this is going to spin up a quick instance for us. We're going to log in and we're going to go ahead and get Nginx installed. You've actually seen me install Nginx already. We did install it locally when we learned how to install packages, but we're going to get this done. We're going to install this on a real server. You're going to be able to hit it from your computer. We have a pretty small instance here, but good thing there aren't that many people on, so I don't think you overload it, but you'll be able to hit the endpoint once we get this set up, just to make sure everything's working right. And I'll go ahead and I'll share out the URL basically that you're going to be able to get to it with now. No, I'm not going to be able to do. Okay, it's working again. Hold on. Because I hate when it's not working because I can't share. What's up, God of Mellow? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. All right, so that's an endpoint you can hit. That's where the server is going to be serving from. If you hit it now, nothing will happen. You will get this beautiful site can't be reached message. Why? It's because you are attempting to make a web request to a web endpoint that does not know how to handle that information, that request that you're making. Nothing's handling it. And so we're going to go ahead and get our web server installed so we can do that. So Is our server up? It is up and it is running. Let's get logged into it. We talked about SSH. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna SSH into this, into the server. So let's go down. You see here, I like Spotify. All right, so see, darn it, can't see this. There we go. All right, where do we want to go? Mastermind. Oh, AWS keys is here. I'm gonna go in there just because that's where my keys are to make sure. SSH test is there. So we're gonna do SSH. Remember, we have to use keys to log in. So we're using this SSH test PIM. And what is the Ubuntu? The user is Ubuntu, I believe, at this IP address. We did it last time. We went over like SSH and some protocols, HTTP and stuff. And so we did a test. So I already had the PIM file available. It's a good question. All right. So we're in our server. This is a brand new server. Usually you would log in and you would, actually, we're going to do that. Apt. Usually what you want to do when you have a server, a fresh computer, is you want to do an update. We're not going to do an upgrade, but we're going to do an update to kind of pull, all of our latest packages, all the things that are available to us, so that our computer knows it can do those things. Looks like we have a lot of packages that can be upgraded. We are not going to upgrade them because that will take a little while. So first thing we are going to do, remember, we learned a little bit about some of the commands. Let's practice some of the commands that we know. I can show you this. I can run this netstack command and we can see what ports are kind of listening on our computer. So port 53 is DNS. This is the internal DNS. We talked about DNS. So when it needs to check to see if it knows the mapping between an IP address and a domain, 53 is that port. So that's running. We have SSH running because we need to be able to log in. 53, 68 is is a service that you don't need to worry about right now. But so port 80, remember port 80 is the HTTP port. That's the one that we care about. We have nothing listening over this port. So we want to go ahead and we want to install a web server. I would just install it for you, but what we do want to do is I want you to know how to do it. If you were, this up one, if you were, if you didn't know what to do. So you just go to Google and say how to install Nginx on Ubuntu. And we Google that. Very simple. You can look around. Looks like this is exactly what we want. I think we used this exact one last time. Luckily, Nginx is pretty simple. There's not a lot you have to do besides update, and this is package managed. So just use the package installer to go ahead and install it. So literally 2 commands. You saw us do the update already, and now we're gonna run this install Nginx. What's up, Ludo Plus? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. So we're gonna go ahead and copy this and we're gonna paste it in. Actually, we're just gonna type it because we can. Nginx. And again, you can know that I'm on the server instead of my computer because of this. And let's actually make this a little bit bigger because it's a little small. All right, so I'm gonna hit yes to go ahead and get it installed, and it's running now. Can you open a server using HTTPS instead of HTTP so you have a safer port? Yes, 88 Opus, absolutely you can. So again, that port number is 443 for HTTPS. That is what you should be doing, but I'm going to show you that the web server by default, it runs on port 80. You can easily enable HTTPS, but what do you need for that to happen? You need an SSL/TLS certificate. Really, it's just a TLS certificate right now, but everyone calls it SSL still. But you need an SSL or TLS certificate. If you do not have one of those, it will fail to start. We could generate one for ourselves, and I could do that for us, but if we have time, we'll definitely do that, but you probably won't be able to hit the site because of the way that most web browsers nowadays handle self-signed certificates. But absolutely, 443 is generally what you're going to be using when you're trying to serve data rather than port 80. So that is a great question there. Ari, do you recommend a particular service for practice, DigitalOcean, AWS? I recommend DigitalOcean only because I think it's a little bit easier to deal with. DigitalOcean or Linode. Or AWS Lightsail. AWS has a VPS service called Lightsail. I recommend those things until we go over the AWS section. VPSs are a little bit cheaper. So VPS stands for Virtual Private Server, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for. They're a little bit easier to deal with than these EC2 instances, which are essentially the same thing, but these have some features that those don't, that make it a little complicated to work with. But until you learn those things, I do recommend DigitalOcean, to be 100% honest. Okay, so now that we've got this piece, so we have our web server installed, and we installed it, and I think last time we saw that Nginx automatically started up itself. And when we check our ports that are open, we can see that 80 is now listening. Nginx does an interesting thing. Most web server, most applications in Linux will not download and start themselves. Usually they'll download and install, and usually you have to manually start them. I've noticed that Nginx goes ahead and kicks itself off and begins running. So how can we check if Nginx is running? What do we learn in the Linux section? We can run a PS, and we can look for Nginx in the process list. And we can see here, Nginx is actually running in the process list. So that endpoint that I gave you, go ahead and click on it. And you should now be getting a welcome to Nginx page. So why is this working? Even though we didn't have to do anything. We install Nginx. Again, I guess the Nginx installer, the package installer goes ahead and kicks off the Nginx process for us. But it is now running. And it now our endpoint, our computer, now knows how to respond to HTTP requests. And again, you can see here in the top left, it says not secure, because that's because we are over port 80. This goes back to 88 Opus's question about wouldn't it be more secure to use port 403? And again, that answer is yes. Port 80 is really not to be served from anymore, even though it's still the standard web port. 443 is going to be generally what you want, but you can't do that until you have some SSL and TLS certificates. So we have this welcome to Nginx page. Let's explore Nginx just a little bit before we move on to the next piece. One, how does it, where's it getting this information from? If you see this web page, the Nginx web server is successfully installed and working. Further configuration is required. So that's what we're going to be doing. For online documentation, go ahead and head here. The Nginx documentation is, in fact, very good. I think it's very good as opposed to other documentation. A lot of documentation sucks. But yeah. All right, so let's see. Let's go back to our server. So in here, remember I told you that everything in Linux is basically a file. Everything in Linux Unix is a file for the most part. It's just a file, file folder, executable, but they're all just files basically. One of the best things when someone finally explained, when I was learning Linux, someone finally explained to me that, like, it took me a while to understand that, and that in that, when it said Nginx needs further configuration, because everything in Linux is a file, basically every application you install, you figure out how to install it, and then you got to figure out how to configure it, which is relatively simple because it's done through a file basically. So you usually have to find that file. Usually that file is in the etc folder, the etc. And again, hopefully you watch that. If you're in the Google Classroom, hopefully you watch that video on kind of the Linux file structure. If not, go back and watch it. If you're not part of the Google Classroom, check out, just Google the Linux file structure, like explained. There's a bunch of videos on it. But in this directory, there should be an Nginx folder in here as well. And so in the Nginx folder, they're basically just a bunch of files that are used to control this. Hey, LIFO, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. But there are just a bunch of files here that we can use to configure things. Almost always, there's gonna be some type of conf file. .conf, that's short for .configuration. And usually you're gonna have to modify one of these files to be able to make changes that you need. So this is going to be with almost any application that you install in Linux. So I don't know, once I learned that, Linux was a lot less scary to me, because I knew that I would just need to, if I needed to change things, like, oh, how do I add more memory? How do I do this? And it's like, no, it'll be in a file somewhere. You just a setting in a file somewhere. It's sometimes hard to find, but you know, it's going to be a setting in a file somewhere, and that makes everything to me just a lot less scary, for sure. But cool. So let's take a look at this. We have a conf.d folder. There's some more configurations in here. We'll take a look at that in a second. We've got a few configuration files, some parameters. What I want you to worry about right now is not all these. I want you to pay attention to sites available and sites enabled. And then there's this Nginx conf, which is the main configuration file for Nginx. So let's take a look at the nginx.conf really quick. and it doesn't look amazing. It's not really fun to look at. It tells you up at the top, users, www data. So if we look at the processes that are running from Nginx, the user that's running them is actually this www data user. It was created when Nginx was downloaded and installed. Yeah, so it's running via that user. We could change that user to have it run to someone else. Generally, this is the common user for things to be running as. And the rest of this stuff is great. It's the common one. Apache has, I forgot what the Apache user. I think the Apache user is like HTTPD or something. It's relative. I don't know if there's a reason behind it, but yeah. Then there's this include. So basically, this is telling it where to include some configuration from. But don't sweat that right now either. Basically, though, what you do need to care about is this HTTP block. So this basically starts settings. It's basically a block that enables some listening to be able to process data properly. And so we got a bunch of options here. Again, and every application, you're gonna have to check the documentation to figure out how to do the things that you want to do. But yeah, it's just some basic configuration here. We're not gonna mess with any of this right now because out of the box, things are usually fine. You usually don't need to mess with that Nginx conf. You know, when you're just messing around in the beginning, you probably won't need to mess with that. You can use some other configuration files and leave the main one intact. And so those will be in this sites available and sites enabled folder. So let's take a look at the sites available folder first. And we have a default here. So let's take a look at this. And we've got some configuration. We've got a bunch of comments in here to let you know what's going on. But check this out. We have a server. So basically we're saying, hey, we want to go ahead and kick off a server, listen on port 80. And this right here actually says, hey, this is the default server. No matter what is passed in, if we hit this endpoint, always deliver basically this information. And these two listen lines, this is port 80 for IPv4. And this is listening over port 80 for IPv6. So we have a listen block for both of these things. What's up, Matty Gog? Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. And then there's a bunch of other stuff in here. So remember, we talked about SSL configuration. You can see here they give you this information out of the box. If we wanted to enable it, we could simply uncomment these lines. It's read only. We could uncomment them, but again, we don't have an SSL certificate installed right now. Things would fail without additional configuration. So we're gonna leave that. I actually can't edit this file right now because I didn't do sudo, but we're gonna leave that there. This line is pretty important. So root. Remember this file path because this is going to be the common default file path for both Nginx and for Apache. var/www/html. This is generally the default area that Linux will serve a website from, or these web servers will serve a website from. You can change this. This does not have to stay the same. If you want to change the place that files are served from, you simply just change this path right here. But this is the root server there, and it's going to be looking for these main files. So for your website to serve, generally you're going to need some type of index file, which is basically a file that needs to be served up front, that a web server, that a request is going to look for to be able to get information. It's commonly called an index, so you can actually call it whatever you want, but then you would have to adjust it accordingly. And so this is telling it to, hey, whenever you receive a request, go ahead and serve up the index.html that lives in this root. Go ahead and serve it. The reason we have this set up is when we went to the website, notice that I did not type in the website /index.html. I didn't ask for this, but it served it up, or served up some index file that I did not specifically ask for. And so again, it just tells it where to kind of start at, and you can change that as well. And then right now we're not gonna worry about anything else in here. Just know that in this sites available thing is where we can start setting up sites. So these are called virtual hosts, basically, and it's because you can make a lot of them. And so we could add one for all kinds of sites. You can serve more than one site off of a single web server, and I'm going to show you how you can do that as well. But let's look at the sites enabled folder really quick. And so when we look at this, you haven't seen this yet. We did not go over this But this right here is actually called a symbolic link. It's called a symlink. In Linux, write that down, check that out. Definitely something that is important. But symlinks, symbolic links, are a symbolic connection to another location on the computer. And so in here, the file that's in here is actually another file called default, just as it was called in the sites available folder. But it is not really here. It's a symbolically linked area to Etsy Nginx sites available default. So we're in sites enabled, and this file is basically referencing the same file that's in sites available. So in Nginx, it's got this cool construct, and not really realistically, you can do this with anything, but it's got sites available, so you can set up the configuration for a site, and you can make it available, but you can have it not actually serve anything. It doesn't work. It doesn't work until it's in the sites enabled directory, at least by default. The configuration for that won't work until it's in the sites enabled directory. And so this way you can kind of make changes in one place. You can kind of shut sites and endpoints on or off relatively easily. But yeah, it's an interesting construct. But again, this default file is actually not here. It's just symbolically linked to the file that we were just looking at. So if we take a look at it, it would actually be the exact same file that we looked at already. Something we've already seen. Cool. But so how are we getting what we're seeing? So it looks like it's serving out of var www/html. So let's go ahead and look at that directory. So we're gonna go to var www html and look in here. And in here we have an index.html-debian.html. So this is the file that's being served, and let's take a look at it. So remember, back to our slides really quick. We said in this long slide that a web server communicates with a browser using Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. The content of most web pages is encoded in Hypertext Markup Language, HTML. Take a look back down here. This is an HTML file. Let's take a look at it. Actually, we'll use other things like cat. So look at this. So take a look at it. This is the contents of the file. And look at this. You do not have to know HTML right now. Again, it's a structure for the markup of the page. But we got welcome to Nginx right here with an exclamation point. Let's look up our endpoint here. Oh, there we go. And looks like we have welcome to Nginx with an exclamation point. If you see this page, the Nginx web server is successfully installed. Let's see if we can find that in the file. If you see this page, actually, welcome to Nginx is right here. If you see this page, the Nginx web server is successfully installed. So the information that we are seeing from the web browser is actually being served up from this file right here. And again, this file is actually called index.nginx-debian.html. We didn't ask for this file specifically. Again, the web server is configured to serve that file. And I bet if we copy this, it may be set up to not allow this, but I bet if we go like this and just do a slash and paste that in, it will still serve up the file, no problem, because we've now requested that file specifically. Yeah, so basically this here, just the web address will go to the root, so that var www.html. If there's anything there, if you set up an index there, it should serve something up. If not, you're gonna go ahead and have to request the file that you want. So cool, we have gone ahead just like that and set up a web server. Let me show you let me show you how easy it is to switch web servers really quick. Actually, last time we actually couldn't get Nginx to stop last time. So let me see if I can even get it to stop. Service Nginx stop. Okay, it is not running. It looks like it's not running. How can we confirm? We can do this. All right, so it's not running. We can go ahead and install. Let's go ahead and install Apache. Sudo apt install. It's a different package name on everything. I think on Ubuntu it's Apache 2, maybe.
No matter what direction you're in when you get that installed.
Great question. So if you couldn't hear Terrence, he asked basically, does it matter what directory we are in when we go ahead and hit and do this install? It does not. So that package manager will install things in the default places that it needs to install them. It does not matter if you're going to use the package manager of your system, like apt, like yum. It does not matter what directory you're in. What's up, SSP3XX? Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. I'm glad you are enjoying it. What's up, FMOMO? HTB Conf for the win. Yeah, very similar. So by default, let's look up our netstat command again. And maybe this did it too. So it looks like it's serving over 80 on, it's listening to 80 on HTTP, I mean on IPv6, which is interesting. Let's check something. Sudo, I'm sorry, I'm old school. What's the Apache 2 status? All right, it's already running. All right, very interesting. This is very interesting to me, actually. I wonder why they start automatically. But if we go ahead and we hit this endpoint, we should get a different page. And we do get a different page. We get this Apache 2 Ubuntu default page. Very different. Gives you a little more information about how this is set up. But just like that, we installed another web server. They're both just packages, and we can configure them accordingly. This has a little bit more information about what you can do. And you can see here, it says these files, the document root. Remember we talked about roots. It says it's in var www. This says public HTML, so close enough to what we already currently have, and it lets us know where the configuration file is: etc apache2 apache2.conf. So let's actually take a look at this. Oh no, actually it does say var www.html. So now that's interesting. I wonder what it did here. So where are we? We're in var www.html. Let's see what's here. So it looks like this is actually something that Apache put here. And it's going to be very interesting what happens when I start Nginx back up. It's going to be very interesting what happens here. But so we have a bigger HTML page. So you can see here there's some CSS in here, some other stuff. Why is this whoops? Why does this look so different? Again, the page that we're looking at has way more styling and all that kind of stuff. And again, HTML, this is an HTML file, allows you to do that. All the styling you see, CSS and all the markdown and stuff, it's all listed here. So this is a lot longer, a much larger file. You can also see that this file is size-wise is much larger than the Nginx one. So cool. And we can go to, so that's Etsy, Apache 2. Let's go in here, check out. We have this Apache 2 conf here, and we can see here sites available, sites enabled. That same construct is here. And let's take a look at the Apache 2 conf. And you can see here it's a little different. It's a lot different actually. It doesn't have the same kind of server blocks. There, these the blocks look closer to this. Here, and let's go to sites enabled. And you can see here that's a symlink as well. And this is what it looks like. So it sets up a virtual host, listening to port 80, and the star basically says everything that comes through. Like this is the default server, basically. And I'm going to show you why that matters in a second. Same thing here. We have a document root. We've seen something like this. Yeah, and we have a very basic setup right here for this. Cool. So that's just to show you a different web server, to show you how they're very similar to get installed, as well as the kind of setup is the same. There's configuration files, there's a sites enabled and sites available thing. So they're very similar. They're not, if you learn one, it's not too hard to move to the next one if you need to do it. So we're gonna shut that down. What is it? Service. I never remember the order. Is it Apache 2 stop? I always get the two things mixed up, if it's stop first or if it's service first. Or all right, cool, that worked. So let's start Nginx back up again, because I'm actually interested in what's going to happen here.
I thought it was going to mess up, honestly, without you. Another one down first.
So Terrence thinks it's going to mess up. I don't think it's going to mess up. It's going to start and it's going to work, but because of the way that Nginx is set up by default, I think it's going to actually serve Apache's index file rather than its own.
Because it's index.html.
Correct. So Nginx should be running. And when we do this, we actually get Apache serving this because, so Nginx is actually running and not Apache. So if we do a PS, oh, a lot of stuff has, Apache has, oh, I did PA, that's why. Okay, I was about to say, I was like, all right, so Nginx is running, but if I do Apache 2, not Apache 23, just Apache 2. Apache 2 is not running. HTTP is not running. HTTPD is not running. So only Nginx is running, but it's giving us the Ubuntu default page. Why is it doing that? Let's take a look at, let's see, Nginx, sites enabled. All right, it's doing this because of this line right here. It's doing this because it's basically specifying some indexes it can look for. So it's looking for index, then it's looking for index.html, then it's looking for index.htm, then it's looking for index.nginx-debian.html. And remember, this is what the file is actually called. But when we installed Apache, it went ahead and it put this this file in there. So in the order, it's getting picked up first. So that's why it's serving this. But we can go ahead and delete that in a second, so that we're not confused. Let's actually go there. rm-rf/var www HTML index.html. Won't let me.
I would think start up one. It would say 80 already in users. That just shuts that one down and starts.
No, so I shut it down. Yep. You cannot start them both at the same time. Linux ports can only be taken up by one service at a time. So I cannot run both of these web servers at the same time. If I have Nginx running right now, if I try to do sudo service Apache 2 start, this will fail. And it'll fail basically saying that, well, there's an error code here. If I check status, I thought it'll give me more of an output here, but let's, and basically the logs here are basically going to tell us that address is already in use, could not bind. I think it says could not bind to socket or to port or whatever, not listening, shutting down. Again, there's already something running on port 80, so this cannot run. So only one web server can be running at a time. So you don't have to worry about any weird stuff with that going on. But I deleted the file. I didn't even have to restart Nginx, and it will now serve the correct content. So cool, just like that, we've done the hard part of installing. We went live, we did it live, we installed a web server. Try it out. If you are using a distribution that's not Debian based, the package for Apache, if you ever want to do Apache, it's Apache 2 on Debian based distributions. On things like on Red Hat based things, so CentOS, Fedora, the package is actually HTTPD. So like HTTP, like Hypertext Transfer Protocol with a D on the end, which for daemon, like the service, that is the package name, or that was the package name the last time I ever did anything with it. Yeah, cool. They're so fast, I didn't even see the shutdowns. No, I do not type fast. I've made it very clear that I'm a slow typist, and I'm working on it.
No, sir.
All right, let's take a break there. Let's take a quick break, take it in, and enjoy what we just did. We were able to install a simple application. Again, an application just like any other application, just like you installing, an application local to your computer, which we could have done. That's all a web server is an application, and it knows how to respond correctly to requests that are made using the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So any request made over HTTP or HTTPS, it knows how to respond to them. It knows how to process them accordingly. And that's all we did. And we made a request to that application, and it delivered us back some data. So we're gonna get a lot deeper in a second, but take it in for now. Get a little bit of, I should have run back downstairs and got some LaCroix, but today I have some Gold Peak green tea just to uphydrate. Usually we have LaCroix.
All the time?
Yeah.
It's a staple.
I don't love it, but we're trying to get a LaCroix sponsorship. So you guys start drinking too.
About that.
All right. Yeah, step out whenever you need to. All right, so now we're going to talk about we're gonna do the cool stuff with these web servers. We're going to start to see what they can do. Not the cool stuff. We're just going to start to see what they can do. You could use a web server kind of as is, just like that. Take your site files, throw them up into var HTML if it is a static site, and it will process them accordingly. And you can go ahead and do that. And you're going to see we're going to actually do that during this portion right here. But let's talk about load balancing. So load balancing. In computing, load balancing improves the distribution of workloads across multiple computing resources, such as computers, a computer cluster, network links, CPUs, or disks. So a lot of stuff there. But load balancing, load is actually the stress of connections and data on a system. So, as all of you are hitting Twitch, to be able to see this content, that's load you're placing upon their systems. That is work their systems have to do. Systems have a finite amount of information they can process, and so what load balancing does is it allows you to take that information and spread it across many different computers. So let's say I wanted to serve up. I used to use this all the time, but let's say I was selling shoes or something, and I'm selling a bunch of shoes and things are going good. I have my server here that I just started with AWS. Let's say that someone important got a hold of my shoe and really liked it and tweeted it out, or I was on their show. And now, millions of people now want my shoe. My one server won't be able to manage. It'll crash, basically. All those requests, my little server won't be able to handle those things. What load balancing allows you to do is to basically have me set up multiple instances of my same server, and to spread, as information comes in, it allows me to spread that across multiple servers almost as if they were one, so that a single server or a single resource doesn't get overloaded. But load balancing is nice. It's nice for a lot of things, and it's pretty cool. And again, it's easier than what we're doing now. It's easier than what we're going to be doing now. When we get to the AWS section here, but that one's so hard. It's pretty easy to do here, but we're going to set it up ourselves. So here's a little image, a little infographic of how this works. So all of our inbound traffic, so all of you making requests, all of us making requests to a system, to that endpoint that I just gave you, we send it here. The load balancer, instead of processing that information and delivering you back, making the response back, it says, cool, I'm going to send this off to a pool, basically, of servers to go ahead and process the information. So it distributes different people to different servers. So as this person comes in, they might get sent over here. If this person comes, they might get sent to the middle. This person comes in, they might get sent to the right. In any order, there are different methods to load balancing. So we are going to be able to show you I'm going to be able to show you how the different ways you can handle that are. But that is what happens, and the responses get sent back. So it allows one endpoint to share the load of all the requests that are coming in through here. So load balancer setup. Let's do it live. Let the party begin. So here we go. Let's go ahead and set up our load balancer ourselves. So remember I said that we're going to set up a couple different servers. Let's go ahead and set up a couple of different servers. And I'm hoping that this works. Theo. Is that Theo? Wow, that is Theo. I didn't even notice that's Theo. That's funny. All right. That's really funny now. I never even looked at it. I just grabbed the second GIF I saw. All right, so we have this server here. I'm still logged into it. We're gonna let that be. This server is now gonna be this server is now gonna be our load balancer. We're not gonna mess with this right now. We're gonna set up some servers behind it. We're gonna set up our pool. So we are gonna use this web server as this. So the one that we just set up, currently, the way that you've seen it, when we spun up Nginx and gave you the data back, it was set up to do this. What we're going to change it to do is to be this, and we're going to set up some other servers to serve back data. So here is what we're going to do. We're making good time. This is good. Let's go ahead and spin up some other servers really quick. This is another great thing. So if you're trying to understand why cloud computing is so great, it's because of this. I can take this and I can simply just spin up more servers whenever I need them, just like this. So I'll spin up another one. Is there a way I can do, what is this? I don't know what just happened. Oh, okay, there we go. That scared me for a second. Can I not specify a number? Or can I? Fine. I'll do it manually. All right, we're gonna do 3. We're just gonna do 3 for now. Just so it matches the image perfectly. We'll go ahead and, this is why I actually I almost never do spin up things manually like this. So it's kind of, it's very interesting to me right now. What was the original one? Let me change the name. Web server. I'm gonna turn this to, there's gonna be a load balancer. This is gonna be web server. Let's call this web 1 to easily identify it. Web 1. We'll call this one web 2. What's up, J5? What's up, Super? I think it was a Super Bear. I missed that. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Web 2, and I already deleted this one. Let's go. I made 3. Did not make 3, so let's go ahead and make one more. What's up, Bazruskin? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I'm struggling. I'm doing better right now. Is this concept similar to Docker or so? Tramstars, great question. This concept is not similar to Docker, but that's actually a really tough question to answer. So no, it is not similar to Docker. Docker itself is a much different construct than this. It is related to Docker. Like exactly what we're gonna have to do now. The way that we're going to load balance here, the way that we're going to proxy in a little bit, that is generally how you could do that, or how people do that. If we had already gone over the Docker section, I would actually not be spinning up these servers. I would actually be spinning up Docker containers to proxy to, but I'm not going to because it'll just make things more confusing. So no, it's not Docker. We will get to Docker. So if you're interested in learning Docker, make sure you stay tuned because we are going to be doing Docker in a few weeks. But it is not related to Docker. All right, so we have 3 servers now. We have 4 servers really. Move this. Let's make this web 3. How soon after you finish today is this available to rewatch? It's available for rewatch on Twitch immediately. So you can rewatch it on Twitch. And then I have to get it exported again. According to Twitch's terms of service, I have to wait 24 hours to put it on YouTube. So that's why I've been kind of giving them a few days. I don't think they'll do anything, but just trying to be safe. Just trying to be safe out here. You never know. Yeah, it'll be immediately available on Twitch right after. Script that, yes. So I could script it if I did not have to edit. If I did not have to edit out the beginning, and I might just stop doing that. I don't really care. So I have seen some scripting with FFmpeg. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I've seen someone do some interesting editing scripting with FFmpeg. I might try. Maybe we'll try one day, but I don't know how to do it offhand. I gotta find some time to kind of check it out. Okay, so let's put these together. I hate that it's showing. Make this a little bit bigger. So what do we have now? We have our load balancer. So this is the server that we've already logged into and we've already got Nginx installed on. Then we have these 3 web servers. These web servers are going to go ahead and they're going to serve all of our content. They're going to serve our website. So what we need to do is first get those set up as well. So we're going to log into each of those real quick. Get Nginx installed. You saw how easy it was to get Nginx installed. We're also going to grab a free website from somewhere on the internet, a free static website, and we're going to put those on the servers so that they can serve up that data. And so I'm going to show you, let's do that real quick. So this will be more practice. And we're going to do it pretty fast, but it's going to be reinforcing the concepts that we already did. So go ahead and get logged into all of these servers. Here's how we'll do it. I'm logged into the load balancer here. And I think I can change the names of the tabs up top. So the load balancer is going to be all the way to the left. Server 1, web 1 is going to be here. Web 2, Web 3. So they're gonna be in order so that you know which one that I'm on as we get into them, and I'll call it out. Actually, let me see if I can rename the tab. Okay, I can't rename tab, but yeah. Let's go ahead and -I Ubuntu at. So we're gonna run our update. So sudo, this is web server 1, apt update. So we'll go there. Let's go ahead and get logged into the next server. We'll open up 3 tabs. So load balancer on the left, web server 1, web server 2, web server 3 once we get logged in. So let's go ahead and sudo apt install Nginx. So I'll give you web server 1. Oh, this is Terrence. He is not a student. He's actually a really great software engineer. He was actually here we ran an engineering panel. He was here for engineering panel, but you'll see a lot more of him. We're working on some things together. He's gonna be we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff with Mastermind together. So he's sitting in, just having fun with us, checking everything out. So soaking it in. But this is Terrence. You'll see a lot more of Terrence for sure. Cool, so we have Nginx installed here. Let's go ahead and get it installed on the next one. Let me send you that endpoint. So this is web server 1. Web 1. All right, so that's the endpoint to web 1. We can hit the endpoint to web 1 to make sure that it's running. Go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna show you guys how to use the host file so I can keep this up. All right, so that's Nginx. So check this out. Here's what we're gonna do. Actually, let's get them all installed first and then I'll do it. I don't wanna confuse you. If you're already confused, don't sweat it. Again, concepts are what important. I want you to understand what load balancing is. Not necessarily, I want to show it to you in action, but don't sweat trying to memorize how to do this. You can always re-reference this if you ever need to. Ubuntu. What?
I'm really good at this stuff. Like,
getting better.
But this is like,
I'm getting better.
I'm watching what you're doing. I've been lost.
Oh yeah. All right.
Lost, bro.
Well, it looks like you gotta go back and rewatch too. I'm gonna be lost when you get to some software stuff.
Hey.
All right, so we're gonna update here. Sudo apt install Nginx. Can I not spell? Oh, sudo. It's sudo. All right, there. All right, and the last server. So this is gonna be web 2. And so the fun thing is you guys should be able to do when I set up my host file, you guys can follow along and you should be able to easily get to these without having to click on those long things or type the long thing in. All right, and web 3. Do simple failover? Yes, the load balancer absolutely can do simple failover. You can set it up to basically pull things out of the pool, but I don't think it's super easy to do that. By default, it'll try to still deliver. It won't pull things out of the pool by default. There are ways in Nginx to get it to remove things from the pools via health checks, but generally you're not going to use. There are better options for doing that though. And 3, and give you web 3. All right. So this is okay, so we're in the newest one. This is web 3. And I can change the host name. It might break stuff, but I can change the host name so that you could see it be web 3 and stuff too, but I'm not gonna mess with that right now. And sudo apt install Nginx. Okay, oh man, I'm dying over here. Sudo. Okay, So now we have 3 servers with Nginx installed. So if you hit any of those endpoints, if you click any of them, they should give you, all 3 should give you, maybe not. Oh, you know what? Because I cloned them, I don't think that they're, I don't think they're all using the same security groups. Give me 1 second. I need to, you probably cannot get to them. Where are the security groups? Give them all new security groups? That's whack. Okay. No, it didn't. What's happening here? What is going on? Can someone click on these and see if you can get to them? Click on those endpoints I gave you. Did I give you guys an invalid point? Let's see. This says connecting. Hold on. We're gonna troubleshoot really quick. It works? Okay. All right. Let's see. Did not work for. Oh, okay. It works for me as well.
I think if you click it correctly, the S. I had to actually go in the browser and take off the S. At the.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The link has a HTTPS on it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. When I paste it in mine, I see it. Okay. So they're all running. So maybe don't click those. If you do click the links and it's not loading for you, make sure there's like no HTTPS on the. Yeah, it's adding HTTPS.
So,
Make sure you just click on it and remove that. Sorry. What's up, Geek Panther? Welcome. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Why is the stream so early today? I tried to share as much as I could. It's early today because of the Super Bowl. One, I noticed that people, last time I streamed on the Super Bowl, no one showed up, for one. But 2, it's my brother's birthday as well. And I know a lot of people like to spend some time with their family and friends on Super Bowl Sunday. Even if you don't like football, it's usually a good time for some camaraderie, some family time. So it's streaming now. If you can't watch it now, again, it should be available for you to check out right after. Whatever time works well for you. But only today's the only day where we're off hours. All right, so now we basically have, what do we have now? Let's back it up. We have this. We have a load balancer that we haven't set up yet, but we have a server for the load balancer. And then we have 3 servers here, 1, 2, and 3 that we just set up. And so all these 3 servers are now serving up web content, but it's serving up it's just serving up the Nginx page. Here's what we're gonna do. Actually, we're not even gonna put a site in there. We're gonna, just to save some time, here's what we're gonna do so you can know which one is which. We're gonna modify that index file. So we're gonna vim, let's see, no, var www HTML. Whoa, what am I doing here? All right, so we're gonna say welcome to Nginx. Actually, instead of saying welcome to Nginx, we're gonna say, shoot, we need to sudo. I always forget was it Chip? Oh. heebie-jeebies when you hear load balancing. That's fair. That is fair. So we're gonna say welcome to web server number 1, just so it's easy to identify. We're gonna differentiate them just so they're different. So that's web server number 1. We'll go over here and do the same thing. Man, I'm dying over here. I keep making the same mistakes over and over. What is? Oh, I'm hitting escape. Was it Control A? Oh, never mind. You guys taught me this. I knew someone that taught me a better way to do this. Thank you. Appreciate that. Muscle memory though. Oh, that didn't work though. They didn't add sudo to the front. Why didn't it? Did I spell it wrong? No. Is it okay, gotcha. It's sudo. But now it's gonna mess up because my last command was okay, gotcha. All right, well, so I'll run 4 again. Can I do this? Can I do sudo 4? That feels right. Yeah, I think so. I think that worked. Web server. I'm just writing crap. I don't care if it's spelled wrong. Just to I should just put 1, 2, and 3, but we're having a great time. We're having an excellent time typing. /var HTML index. I did it again. Sorry. But I caught it that time. See, we're learning. We're learning from our mistakes.
I'm definitely learning.
Definitely learning from our mistakes. Web server number 3. 3. Is there a lesson for network programmatically? A little bit. What's up, 3lipc 3lpsy? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. There is kind of. So we're not going to be doing any like network automation with like Python, but we're going to be doing a little bit of network automation with things like Ansible and Terraform, like setting up the structure of certain networks, setting up some things with those 2 things. But it won't be specifically for networking. It'll be in support of whatever we're trying to do for that day, for that class. But yeah. See. Okay. So we have 3 different web servers here. Now watch what we're gonna do here. Just so it was easy for us to work with, because it takes a while to get these, like, what are they called? To get these host names and stuff. Here's what we're gonna do. The security group. Oh, this server's going extra slow. Okay, here's what we're gonna do to make things easy for ourselves. We're gonna take our load balancer right here. We're gonna take the IP address for our load balancer. We're gonna copy this. And we are going to, we're gonna do some host file modification. So we talked about our host file, and it allows us to change DNS or to modify local DNS. So we are gonna vim, what is it? /etc. We're gonna do our own host file locally. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna paste in this IP address, and this is gonna be our load balancer. So now, instead of us having to type in the IP address or that long DNS name, when I type load balancer in, it will refer to our load balancer. So it's 1 line. Let's do the same thing for web 1 and web 2. So web 1, we're gonna copy the IP address, and we're gonna paste that in. We're gonna call this web 1. So now whenever we type in web 1, it should take us there. Let's do this for web 2. Paste 2. And let's do the same thing for web 3. All right, so let's test this out, and I'll close this so I don't have too many things open. So in our browser, if I type in load balancer, don't search for it. Let's go to it. Darn it, I don't have that. I should have given it like .com. Load. Why is it searching? Don't search. But I'm making not search. Hold on. What if I do web 1? This should work. Why is this? Hold on. If I do something like this, I curl load balancer. I get what I'm supposed to get. I get welcome to Nginx when I curl it. How do I? Oh yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Thank you very much, FMOMO. Load balancer. Okay, so if I type in load balancer, we get that. If we type in http://web1, web1 actually gives us. Does it give us anything? Oh, is it putting HTTPS in there? It is. Why? Oh man, why is it doing this? Okay, so look at this. Web server number 2. When I go to web 2, they did the same thing here. Darn you, Google, for trying to keep me like safe and secure. Like, why are you doing this? I mean, I appreciate you doing this, but like, not right now. I don't. Web 3. Okay, so here's what we have. We have web server number 1, web server number 2. We have web server number 2, and we have web server number 3. Even though yeah, cool. We've got all of them here. So 3 different addresses here. This is our load balancer, which doesn't have anything, so we can differentiate between them. Let's go ahead now and let's set up load balancing between those 3 servers. So ideally you wouldn't want to have your web server. I mean, all the servers that live in your load balancer pool. So all the servers that are sitting behind your load balancer, you want it to be serving the same content. So ideally, we'd want them all be serving the same site. But I changed the names up here so that we could easily identify which server we were hitting at any given time. So what's up, Tux Labs? I take it as you are a Linux user. I'm also a Linux user. Definitely shout out your favorite distro or whatever you're using. Tux Labs. I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, but anyone who put Tux in their name has to be a Linux user. Okay, so let's Google how to set up Nginx load balancing. Again, I said Nginx's documentation is, I think, pretty darn good, especially for something like this. Make it a little bit bigger. All right, so how do we do this? The way that we do this is to use, so we can use this upstream. You can also use this for proxying as well. But there's a different one that I wanted you to look at. Actually, I think it's available in Classroom. I only want to go off of this because this is going to be one that you're going to be referencing later. Or things that are coming up. Intro to DevOps. That seems right. Swear. What? It should have dropped already. This is just regular Nginx documentation. Figuring. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a good one. We can use it. We can really use any of these, but there was one really good one. That's fine. This is, they're all the same, really. But I like the layout of the one that I was going to show you. These are very documentation-y, which is good, but cool. So all we have to do to set up load balancing is to configure our load balancer accordingly. And the way that we can do this is using right here, it says their simplest way to set this up is to have an HTTP block here, and you set it upstream, which is going to be your load balancing pool. And so you set up an upstream, give it a name, and then you put all the servers that you want it to go to. You just go ahead and put in their domain names here, and then basically, so this is it's gonna basically proxy that information. So we're kind of combining this and what we're gonna learn next together. That's gonna proxy that information over. So you set up an upstream. Again, you set up an upstream, and it basically will deliver your request. It'll hit this block here, and it will send it to just one of these servers. Now, there's some logic you can do based on this. So you can do things in a few different ways. So you can send it to the server that has the least connection. So again, you wanna be able to balance this load. So if your servers are getting a bunch of requests, you can send the request basically to send it to the server that has the least amount of connections. This way you keep all of your connections on each server as low as possible. So if web server 1 has 3 connections still connected to it, if a new request comes in and web server 1 only has 1 a connection attached to it, it will send it to that server rather than having them build up on server number 3. So least connections is the way to keep the request as low as possible on every server. Session persistence. So this is going to be if you have an application that is stateful, or a number of reasons. If you want to keep people on the same server, so if you don't want each of their requests, oh no, my laptop's about to die. If you don't want all the requests to go to a different server every time they make a new request. So let's say academy.mastermind.io was behind a load balancer. This request may go to one server, and then when I click curriculums, that request may actually go to another server. Introduction to coding with Python may actually go to another server. Is it charging? Perfect, thank you.
I'm here for it.
I appreciate it. Using this IP hash one, we'll check the IP basically and keep it available to whichever server they were originally connected to. Yeah, you should just play that right there. Thank you. I know, man. I'm sorry. I've been here every day. Then you can do weighted load balancing. So this is a way for you to basically enhance the algorithm a little bit more, so that you can weight a server. So maybe you have one server that's bigger than all the other servers. You can set a weight for it, and basically this will allow more requests to hit server 1 rather than the other 2 servers. Yeah, so you can do some stuff like that. And then there's round robin, where it'll just, no matter what the connections are, it'll hit the next server. So send this one to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No matter how many connections are on there. So sometimes, some people may be on the site for just a minute or two. Some people may be on for hours. And so connections can build up in any different way. Round robin just alternates which ones it sends it to every time. Cool. And so this is where you can set up these health checks. And I think Angry Mohawk asked about dropping servers out of the load balancer or automatic failovers. And this allows you to set up health checks to basically say, all right, let's say server 2 actually goes down. We don't want to keep sending requests to server 2 because it's down. So there's these health checks you can set up. The load balancer will basically check in to see if the server is healthy. Once it realizes it's not healthy, it will stop delivering requests to that server. So it can be really nice. That's really nice to do. It really helps you not have to worry about, makes your application much more resilient, much more reliable. Okay, so let's go ahead and set this up super quickly. I haven't done this in a really long time, but it's pretty simple. We'll go ahead and copy and paste. This goes inside of an HTTP block. So we're going to put it right in the default case. We're using AWS Route 53 failover. Yeah, so you can use DNS failover as well. That is what we use as well. Okay, let's go ahead and set this up on our web server. I actually think because this is an HTTP block, can I even put this in? I never remember this. Never remember this. Let's get back into, let's close this. Go on our web server, and this is Apache. I want to go to, oops, what I want to go to? It's the Nginx. What's in here? I want to go to sites enabled. I'm going to actually go back to sites available, and I'm going to copy this default to a backup file because I'm going to modify it in case I break it. Just in case I break it. All right, let's go ahead and modify this default file. I'm trying to think. I should be able to do this here. Should be able to do this here, no problem. So I think I can just set up an upstream. We've got a server. But this is an entire server block. I'm gonna have to move this whole server block inside. I might not even need to do that. Let's go ahead and put this right in our default Nginx config. Since we're not going to be doing anything else with this, let's go ahead and put this in our Nginx config. So we have this here. All the server stuff is commented out. What we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and add in, what is it? It's sudo bang bang again. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and add in an upstream. Usually, I'm just gonna copy this. I might have to move this to the other one. I'm not sure yet, but we'll find out. All right, thanks, go to Jet. All right, cool, Angry Mohawk. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely tune back in. Let me know how you like the rest of the stuff. Definitely check it out because this stuff is pretty cool. But have a good, I think you said you were in the airport. Have a good flight. I appreciate it. I'm glad. This one's always hard to do because again, I don't want. This can be pretty confusing, and I don't want. I don't want you to stress. I don't want anyone to stress about like everything that I'm setting up because again, like even right now, I've done this 30 times. And I don't remember which. I don't know. I don't even know if I can put this here or not. I don't know if this configuration works. I don't know if I'm gonna have to put it in the vhost config. I don't know. I haven't done exactly what I'm doing in a long time. So I don't know. I don't want people to stress about trying to set it up. So it's always hard to teach this piece because everyone's always like, oh, like what do I do here? What do I do with this? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, gotta mess around with it till it works. Which is generally the life of a DevOps engineer. It's engineering. Seriously, it's engineering. So basically the good part about being DevOps is the reason why I don't remember how to do all this stuff is because we set this up once. We fight with it in the beginning. We get things set up. And of course we add to it over time, but we set it up. And then after that, it's automated. Like I'm only hopping in and doing this one time. Once I set this up once, we'll build this into some kind of Nginx image or something. And we automate the deployment of it and everything. So generally, in a long time, I haven't had to like manually mess with a bunch of Nginx rules at all. But I think this should be fun. So here's what we're gonna do. We have this server upstream. So I could do that same host file modification on the server, but I'm not. I'm gonna simply paste in those IP addresses from those other things. Grab this. Let's go web 1. Let's paste this. Thank you, Tux Labs. Thank you for the 100 bits. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. I'll see if I can change that cooldown. I didn't even know that was a thing. Learning new stuff about Twitch every single day. Ubuntu is your choice right now. Awesome. This is great content. I appreciate that. Yeah, trying to just make this stuff accessible to people. Like again, this information's out there, but people don't know what you can do with it. A lot of jobs out there right now that people are having trouble filling, but giving people kind of access to this stuff is, I don't know, I think this is a fun way to do it. So I'm glad you discovered us. We usually don't stream during this time. This is actually really early for us. We usually stream at 8 p.m. But because the Super Bowl is here, I don't know where you're located, but in the US at least, the Super Bowl is here and a lot of people are going to be watching. So figured I would stream a little bit early to give people that time so they weren't conflicted over whether or not they wanted to learn or watch the Super Bowl or drink beer with their friends, like even if you're not watching the Super Bowl. So thought it'd be a little bit fun. So we're just setting up some cool stuff here. So welcome. We're just showing the concepts of load balancing. Why not just show EC2 load balancer and autoscaling groups? That is an excellent question. And the reason is because we actually have an entire section on AWS, which we will go through. But I think it is important. One big thing I've seen from everyone who's gotten into DevOps and like anything systems related, infrastructure related in the past few years, who's been relatively new to it, is that yes, when you kind of start off with those things, and you're missing these things, I've seen people run into huge problems that were very solvable, but people didn't have the kind of underlying knowledge that kind of exists for these things. So again, the concept is what is important here. Knowing how to do this manually is not super duper important. I want you to know that you can do it manually. But I think doing it manually here kind of shows you the concept of a load balancer. Yes, it is super easy to also show with Nginx, but I mean with AWS load balancers. But in case anyone wants to mess around on their own, people are learning Linux and stuff right now as a part of this course as well. I think this works if you don't know how to use AWS and you want to, use something locally. Maybe you just have some stuff that you want to use, like a virtual machine or something that you want to use locally to try this, or your own computer. You can try it out locally without having to spend any AWS money. Cool. So we set up this upstream, and we're going to call this, we can call this whatever we want. This is just basically a variable. We're going to call this mastermind. And what we can do here is now we can proxy pass this to, actually the server block's not going to work. This is not how I shouldn't do this like this. But I'm going to do it like this anyway. And we're going to pass this to mastermind rather than to my app one. So basically, anytime someone hits slash on here, anyone hits the server, it should proxy through to one of these things. Nginx is a huge beast, and you can have a whole classes about it. 1000%. Yeah. You are absolutely correct. Nginx can be a beast. That is again also why this configuration isn't going to work out of the box. But actually, I'm going to remove. I wonder what will happen if I remove everything else. I wonder if this will still work. But yes, Nginx is a beast. It is something that I think is worth checking out. Maybe not fully learning, but it's definitely worth checking out. For anyone who, it's worth checking out. So let's go ahead and comment out everything else that we have here. So how can we do, let's see, visual block, down, let's do Shift I, escape. All right. This may not work. I may have messed this up royally, but we're going to find out in a second. Let's find out. So I'm going to save this. Service, Nginx restart. So to restart Nginx, for configuration changes to take place, Nginx loads up all this configuration kind of at runtime. And so for you to make those changes take place, you have to go ahead and restart the service. This is common with most applications in Linux. Again, because everything is a file, basically you make modifications to it, and you have to restart the service for those changes to take place. Nginx is cool because if I made any, if what I have isn't compatible, I can actually run an Nginx check. If I wanted to, I could check the configuration. But if I try to restart it, and everything's wrong, it's smart enough to say, "Oh, you've made a mistake. I'm not gonna restart the service. Like if I shut down, your configuration's incorrect. So I'm not gonna shut down because I won't be able to start back up properly. You need to go fix what you messed up." So it's super nice. Especially when you're first learning it, you don't gotta worry about bringing down the site. There's Nginx restart. And it didn't give us an error, so it looks like it restarted. So now if I hit load balancer, check that out. So load balancer immediately now changed to web server 1 rather than what it was at before. If I refresh again, now I get 2. Refresh again, I get 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's doing round robin. So we have set up a load balancer now. We're basically using a single server. And again, I really think this is a really great thing. We set up one of these, and now it's basically routing traffic to these things. So feel free to hit our load balancer endpoint. Sudo cat /sc hosts. Go ahead and hit this IP address so it doesn't add HTTPS. Let's copy, paste in. Oh, is that a reload versus a restart? Oh, okay. So yes, no, restart will also, a restart should stop you from messing up as well. Reload is what you would use to just reload configuration. A restart should also check configuration before it stops as well. So there should be some checks in there for that as well. So it shouldn't let you just break everything. Cool. So we set up a load balancer just like that. And so again, that's nice. You guys can hit that endpoint. You should start to see locally as well that as you hit it, it'll just go around and around. And again, we can do something like this. Let's go ahead and add in one of the weights here. Actually, first, let's go over the last bit of these slides really quick, because what we're doing now actually heavily ties into proxies really quick. And I think it'll be fun to just mess around with it after we learn about proxies really quick. But what's a proxy? A proxy server acts as a gateway between you and the internet. It's an intermediary server separating end users from the websites they browse. So it's the middleman here. Proxy servers provide varying levels of functionality, security, and privacy depending on your use case, needs, or company policy. A forward proxy is used by a client. Remember, we talked about the word client. That is your web browser. So forward proxies are used by your web browser to proxy through. A reverse proxy is actually used by the servers. But again, it's very important to just know that a proxy is basically the middleman. So a computer would basically ask Bob what the current time is, and then the proxy would say, all right, Bob, what's the current time? And it would deliver that information back to Alice. Again, it is the middleman for communication. You've probably used proxies more than you know. I know people used to use them in school to get to be able to visit websites they shouldn't be visiting that were blocked in school. Things like I think probably one is Hide My Ass, or I forgot like what the other one is. Some kind of turtle website.
What?
Yeah. What's it called? I think they changed the name of it.
Hide my ass.
Hide My Ass.
Hide
Like
my ass.
so, proxies are good for anonymity as well. Yeah, that's basically what a VPN service is too. Just it proxies your data through another server, so that people can't know don't easily know the origin of the request. And that's all a proxy is. And basically, that's what we're doing here with this load balancer. The way that we set up a load balancer here in Nginx is we basically are proxying the data, proxying the information to another server. So we're basically taking everything from the requests that come in. We're basically, and you can see here, we're proxy passing the information to another endpoint. So the data hits the server. We're asking this server what the time is, and it is asking the servers that are in this upstream, it's asking them what the time is. So pretty simple actually, very related to this. I just want to go over what proxies were with that. And we were going to do the same thing, but we were going to do it with some Nginx some Docker containers, but we can use this exact example to do that as well. And we're going to add to this in a second. And the last thing was firewalls. While I'm in here, it'll make it easier just to show you what a firewall is. You probably already know what a firewall is or have heard of a firewall. But a firewall is a network security device that monitors incoming and outgoing network traffic, and decides whether or not to allow or block that specific traffic based on a defined set of rules. So this is basically a piece of software or hardware that you set up some rules, and you just tell it what's allowed and what isn't allowed. You set up these rules, and it goes ahead and it filters out traffic based on those things. So again, you can block things like ports or allow ports. So you saw me add in have to allow port 80 into AWS when we went into those security groups with AWS. You saw that I had to get it to be able to serve over 80. I had to go ahead and allow inbound connections over HTTP. Now, there are other ways to do that. So on a lot of servers, on Ubuntu, there's a lot of firewalls that come by default on various distributions. I think on Ubuntu, the one that comes by default is DFW now. Sudo service DFW status. What is it? So maybe it's not on here. There's also IP tables. Am I doing this wrong? Hold on, let me see something. Told you I'm old school. Was it System CTL? System CTL DFW status. Is this right? Is it status DFW? Man, I am not doing a good job with this. IP tables -L. Thank you. I can't see who sent those. All right, thank you for the bits. I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. What am I doing here? What? Just I click on a new tab. So, but DFW is one. I think it's Debian. DFW stands for like Debian firewall. IP tables is a common one, and IP tables should be available. IP tables is also available here. It is available here. I'm not sure why it's not showing me the status. Maybe I'm typing it wrong. Man, IP tables. I think IP tables is more than just a firewall, but people use it as a firewall. Man. Okay, so it's an administration tool for IPv4 and IPv6. We talked about that. Packet filtering and that. So it's not purely a firewall. It looks like there's some other things you can do with it, but people use it as a firewall. And you can set up firewall rules here. So IP tables is a common one. DFW is a common one as well. Definitely a common one as well. It's probably not installed by default on Ubuntu server. DFW probably isn't on, not even Ubuntu server. Ubuntu server AMIs for like the default AMIs for Amazon Web Services. That's probably for a number of reasons. We could install it. We don't need to install it right now, but again, you specify. Oh, is it UFW? UFW, not DFW. Why am I calling it? Is it UFW? Maybe I'm tripping. Service. Maybe I'm wilding right now. Let's see. Sudo service UFW. Status. Okay, UFW. I'm sorry. Again, so you'll see when we get to the cloud portion, the use of application firewalls like this is diminishing. Because access can be set accordingly in a lot of different places, and actually, firewalls like this generally cause a lot of issues. So USW, thank you for that, Adam. I don't know why I thought it was DFW. Am I thinking of Dallas Fort Worth? That's what came up. Yeah, Dallas Fort Worth Airport. Yeah. So UFW, you can see here it's loaded. I actually don't even know how to use UFW. Uncomplicated firewall. But again, we could set up rules in here. We could definitely set up. It was like, yeah, that was great. We can set up rules in here to allow stuff. So we could actually allow all traffic from Amazon's point of view, where you saw me setting up those security groups, and then we could actually use our application firewalls to block out certain ports, to block out certain IP addresses, basically set up any rules to be able to block out or allow certain traffic. So that's all a firewall is. You probably, if you're on a Windows computer, your Windows firewall probably asks you about stuff all the time and block stuff for you all the time. You did not hear traffic. We will be going over traffic during the Kubernetes portion this time, though. You heard traffic, but you didn't hear of the Go microservices routing tool traffic. But yeah, so that's all a firewall is. Again, sets rules to basically allow or deny web traffic based on rules that you set up. So check those out. Again, the common ones, IP tables is a super common one. UFW is a common one now on Debian-based distributions, or maybe it's Ubuntu specifically. But yes, that's what a firewall is. And we started about proxy. So let's hop back in. Let's mess with those last 15 minutes. Let's mess around with our load balancer, which is actually proxying information for us right now. Maybe we will set up a cool site. So, where am I? Am I in the load balancer? No, this is the load balancer. All right. Typed in a lot of incorrect commands in here. Okay, so let's check out some of these proxying and some of these load balancing options that we had available to us over here. I don't know how we got there. Where was I looking? Here. So let's check out something like least connections is great, but IP hash is great too. Well, let's go ahead and add IP hash just to show you that it's going to go ahead and stick me into a server, and it's going to keep me there basically. Is this in? Save that. Let's go ahead and restart it. I could have just reloaded it. But now, if I hit back our then slash load balancer, and I go to it, I get web server number 2. If I refresh, I get web server number 2. And if I refresh, I get web server number 2. And if I refresh, I get web server number 2. Again, very different functionality from what we just saw. Again, it is basically keeping my session persistent. It is making sure that that my IP, where my request came from originally, is making sure that it keeps me on the same server for connections, which is great, which is good for a lot of different things. But again, why would this be problematic? This could be problematic again in that it's possible that for some reason that web server ends up, all the people who are going to that web server are staying on your site for a long time, and that web server could end up getting tons and tons of connections that are not ending, and that web server could still be overloaded. So you got to be careful when you're doing all these things, or not even be careful, but just know that there are caveats to all of these things. So let's try a different one. Let's try out a different method of load balancing. Let's go ahead and do a weighted one. And so actually I need to take off this. Actually, let me see. I have no idea how the weight is set up. Like, is it set up by like a is there a max? I'm wondering if there's a max number. Default is 1. Is it like 3 times as many requests go here? I don't know. Let's leave it. Let's leave it at 3. Let's check it real quick. We'll modify it and we'll see. So this is web server 1. So it seems like I'm assuming 3 times as many requests will go to web 1 as opposed to any of the other servers. I'm assuming. So let's I know that a higher weight means that more things will go to it. But let's check and let's see. Let's count. So we have 3 servers. I'm gonna re-request text me web server 1. Do it again. Text me web server 2. Back to 1. To 3. Back to 1. To 1. Okay, so it is 3 times. So you can see here there are 3 servers here. It's basically taking me there every other request. It's basically taking me there every other request, which is nice when there are 3 servers. So it's taking me there 3 times as many times as everything else. I'm getting 1 a lot more than I'm getting 2 and 3. So I'm sure that if I raise that number to something like 5, that we would also see that I'm getting this 5 times as many. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it went twice. Oh, it's sticking there. So it doesn't look like it's a consistent number. It seems like it'll do it. It'll keep the number and the weight proper, but it could be any number. But you see, if I just keep refreshing, you'll see 1 a lot more than any of the other numbers. And again, it's just going to send data to that server, send requests to that server much more frequently than it will to the other 2. That higher number gives it more. I don't know if that's percentage. You can read through the documentation and find out. But if you ever need to do that, if your company had 1 server which was huge and 2 smaller servers there for backup, and you want to send most of the requests to the more heavily used server, then go ahead and do that. So it's cool. So a whole cyber cafe would hit 1 server only. Some small countries have just 1 IP address, possibly. Yes. So yes, that is a great reason why you would want to think about not doing session persistence, because if a cyber cafe or something has a single IP address coming out of it, all the requests are coming out of that same IP address. Yes, everyone in there would be, if they were all going to your website, would be hitting the same server. So that is also something to think about. Some small countries have just 1 IP address. Another good reason, again, these are all caveats. These are all things you'll pick up over the years about why something is right or wrong. For most things, there's really no wrong answer. There's just trade-offs. So again, like picking up things like that Viable Clan member just threw out there are are things that you pick up over the years that are actually very valuable. And this is what makes you go from good to great. It's not really the technical piece you can pick up. Anyone can pick up the technical pieces of it. What makes you great are the knowing the things like that, knowing that, there are places where everyone's going to have the same IP address. And although we're using load balancing, those requests will all be hitting the same server. And being able to diagnose things like that when they happen are pretty important. So they would be routed. They would be routed individually if they were coming from different IP addresses. But if you did an IP hash, if you use your IP hash to save them, they would get routed. I've seen it happen. They will get routed to the same server. So there are a couple ways you can set up the web server to grab. One, it depends on how their switches and their system is sending out the original request, the headers that are sent out for the host, the headers that are sent out for the IP address. But if they are all getting delivered with the header that you're using to match off of, and again, maybe Nginx handles it differently, but this is just load balancing in general. I've absolutely seen all requests coming from the same building being routed to the same server before. So there are caveats in your configuration for that. That is something that can happen. So again, maybe J5, maybe if this is not something that happens for Nginx, maybe, I don't know, maybe if you know a little more about that, but it certainly can happen. Cool. Is that might be, we did wait. What else do we have here? Health checks. We're not going to set up health checks. We're not going to do any failovers, because again, the cloud has kind of made it much easier for us to handle things like that. Yeah, much easier for us to handle things like that. But again, Nginx has tons of different things. Check out the documentation. Just check out. You don't need to memorize the stuff. You don't need to be an amazing Nginx user. Again, you do need to understand some of the concepts of serving web content. While we have a little bit of time, let me just show you. Let's grab a free website. So free HTML5 template. And I just want to show you that, like, when you see websites and stuff, it's not crazy. It's not magic. Paradigm shift. Let's grab this. Nope. I do not want to do that. I want to just give me the link. They don't have a, this link's not going to work. Copy link address. Let's go ahead and download this on one of our servers really quick and see if we can get this set up. So server 1, since the wait is going here, cd var HTML. We're gonna wget that file. That's how we download things from the internet onto a system. No check certificate. I don't think this is the right. I don't think this is the right. Oh, permission denied. Let's, nope. You guys taught me. Sudo. Damn. Got me. Sudo bang 12. All right. So what it did is it downloaded this directory for, I'm assuming it's a zip file. So we're gonna unzip this download, even though it doesn't say zip. It's large, and it let us know here that it was a zip file. So we're gonna remove this index file. Actually, we're just gonna move it. Move index to. Actually, we'll leave it right there for now. Let's see what's in this. Let's see how this unzips. So we're gonna unzip this download. I'm gonna have to rename it. Ooh. I forgot unzip's not always there, which it should be. I'm actually very interested in why. I guess because Linux prefers archives, prefers tarballs. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Ooh, can I? Oh, sudo. All right, so here's what we have now. So you can see here, this actually put a new index.html, but this is like the basic structure of a website, HTML website. You have your index, and then you have some images and some assets, and some other stuff here. But so we have a site here. So now web server 1 Web 1 should actually now have a website on it. So if I do HTTP Web 1, look at that. We actually get a free website. So you can go grab yourself a free website and serve it just like this. If you like, spin up a server, install Nginx, unzip it in the right place, and go ahead and modify the files accordingly. But we have a site here. So just wanted to show you that hosting a website isn't anything super wild. Again, these actually don't need, static websites don't actually need a web server. But if you wanted to host it at a domain, you could do this. There's cheaper ways to actually host static websites now than this. But again, it's not anything crazy here. We could also quickly use proxy pass really quick. So Node.js, GitHub. So the Node.js website, it's actually it's a Node application that we could proxy pass to. So let's say you're using, we talked about things taking up different ports. Things like this are served over this port. But if you have another server side language, again, something like Node, Node actually has its own way of running, of delivering applications. It does it over port 3000. You not only can you proxy to different websites, you can proxy to different ports on your same computer. So we said only one thing could be spun up. One service could be listening on a port at a time. I could start up a Node.js service that's running on port 3000 locally, and some other service that's running on something else, and I could use that proxy pass to actually proxy the request to other services that are running locally on my computer, and deliver them over port 80 rather than having to run them in a completely separate way and like doing all this fancy stuff. Proxying has been really good for that as well. And again, that's why Nginx is so good. It's so much easier to proxy on Nginx than it is to do on Apache, and the kind of the ease and simplicity of the way it works. You can do it in Apache, you can, but it is just not as simple or as intuitive. But actually, I'm not going to go into that now. I was going to go into it a little bit later, but let's actually install 3 different sites really quick, just for fun. We're just having a little bit of fun now. 3 different sites on our servers. Where are you?
That's crazy.
Out of the box. wget. I forgot what the was it, no check certificate. Dash no check certificate. Unzip. Sudo unzip. Download. That did not work. Oh. All right, so that has a website on there now too. And let's go ahead and install a random website on the third one. Just so that I'm gonna leave this up for a little while, just so that it's a little more fun. Whenever you hit the endpoint, you can hit the endpoint if you'd like. And for anyone, I'm gonna leave this up for anyone who's watching it later. Copy link address. Let's go ahead and install this. So let's do the first thing. Apt install unzip. wget dash no check certificate. Sudo. See, and these are things that you should be scripting, actually. No need to do this manually by hand. You could script this out, and later on we're going to learn how to do this in a whole different way, in a much easier way. But for now, this is exciting. And all right, so now what we should have is when we ever hit that load balancer, Now we should just get some sites back. Hyperspace. Paradigm shift. We should get paradigm shift 5 times as many times as we get anything else. Dimension. Paradigm shift. Hyperspace. Bunch of different sites here, but fun. We'll change that weight so that people can get a new one every single time. Cause it's kind of whack.
You literally just never done this. Because it's very limited. Be honest too, bro.
What do you mean done? What I'm doing right? I have not done. I mean, I've set up proxies before. I've set up load balancers before. I know that you can set up. I've set up so many websites.
I'm starting to think you're a genius.
I'm not a genius.
I'm really starting to
I am. There are so many people in this chat who know I'm not a genius. I'll do something like, "Hey, man, that's dumb."
What are you doing?
But no, not at all. And that's further to prove like your expertise is in something very different than mine is in. Not very different, but
Right.
it's different. And so when you are like, if you were to watch me we're going to talk about some test driven development and stuff on the Python course. Like you're gonna be like, I mean, yes, you're explaining the concept well, but like there are many other ways to do this. No, I mean, again, they're all just tools you pick up over time, for sure. Let's see.
Shows how it's not that.
It's not. The only reason I've been using Nginx for years, for a really long time, and I wasn't even sure the things I was plugging in were going to work. Like that's to just show you that you don't need to be memorizing this stuff. Oh no, what happened? I'm only getting this one back. I wonder if it's cached. Oh no, I changed the weight. And I restarted it. All good, doesn't matter. The load balancer could do whatever. It might be working off of least connections or something. Who knows? All right, so I have to double check on Nginx. I thought it was cookie header session stickiness. Yes, so you are J5. You are absolutely right. Generally, it is a cookie header. It is cookie header stickiness on most things. By default, the Nginx IP hash one is not. From maybe I'm tripping, but I'm pretty sure that one's not. But you're generally right. For other setups. For proper load balancing setups, you would be right. The Nginx default load balancing is not I don't consider it to be a proper load balancing setup. You have to make SQL instances in AWS, or can you spin up on your server you made on AWS? You can absolutely you can do anything you want on these servers. So you do not have to use AWS's database services, RDS. It's actually really expensive. So you could actually just go ahead and on your, like I could do MySQL D. I don't know what the package is for. I can search for the packages, but you could absolutely install MySQL locally. I could use app to search the package right now. But yes, you do not have to use RDS. You can install an open source SQL instance. Microsoft SQL, the rules may be different, but I think you could also spin up a Microsoft instance and do the same thing. For that, I'm not sure about Microsoft. This has just had the service installed. Yeah. Put an SSH. It'll have. Will it? I don't think it does. So you don't have to install it manually. Oh, use the default image. Yes. Yeah. All right, FMOMO. Peace. We're actually about to sign off in a second anyway. Let's all of us are hitting it at the same time as well. Oh, something. You guys blowing up my servers? Oh, yes. Okay, for the reason why it was giving me the same, you're right. The way it's load balancing, you guys are hitting it as well. You can use MS SQL on the EC2 instance, way cheaper if you already. Oh, okay, yeah. I think I forgot that Microsoft SQL. Does it work on Linux? Or do you have to install it on a Windows instance? Oh, that's cool. I did not know. I've actually never used SQL Server in my life, like Microsoft SQL Server, in my whole entire life. Even though, and I don't dislike. Some people just dislike the Microsoft framework. I don't. I've heard amazing things about .NET. People who do .NET development. I've seen some cool stuff. And again, I actually like. I will be interested in it because I love the direction that Microsoft has been going recently. They're more open source. Yeah. I mean, Linux ships. The Linux kernel ships inside of Windows now. It's become a viable platform. But again, I say whatever you're comfortable with. All the computing platforms, it's like phones now. They all do the same. Like you can get everything you need done on all of them. So they're all the same. But yes, you can install whatever you want on EC2. You can install, or like this server, you can install literally whatever you want. It just might take more configuration, and you don't get some of the benefits that Amazon provides for some other things. But again, that's not always important. But if you grab a VPS off of Amazon or EC2 instance or a light sale off of Amazon or something off of DigitalOcean or Linode or Linode or however you say it, you can go ahead and install whatever you want on there. DynamoDB is not a relational database. It's serverless, so you pay for what you use. What about Dynamo? Great question. DynamoDB is dope. We're going to talk about databases for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about right now. But DynamoDB is a great scalable NoSQL table from Amazon. It is not a relational database table. It is super fast. I really like Dynamo. It is basically a key value store, and it is super nice. Yeah, you don't need to worry about anything. You don't need to set up anything. You just create this table, and it's serverless, so there's no servers you have to manage. But we will talk about all that. But cool, it's 2:07. Hopefully, again, what do we want? Those tangible takeaways again, what do we want out of this? We want to understand that when things that are served over the web, there's software that is generally necessary to serve them. Again, we're going to break that down later. You do not always need a web server to serve this stuff, but web servers allow you to serve that content over HTTP and HTTPS to be able to get information out to the users. Again, we want to take away some of the common web servers. Apache, which again, I'm pretty sure is by still a substantial margin the biggest web server. Nginx, Microsoft IIS, and there are things like Tomcat. There are a bunch of others. Take some time in Google and see what other ones you can find out there. But these are probably the biggest ones by far. We installed a web server. We're talking about load balancing. Again, load balancing, we want to just understand this concept. The tangible takeaway is to understand this concept is that a bunch of people can make a request, and the load balancer will take those requests and distribute it to a pool or a set of systems that are behind it to be able to handle that data. So it distributes, data, and there are many different ways you can decide to distribute that data. So we set that up, and then proxies. Proxies are the middleman here, and the way we set up our load balancer, we were using proxies, but a proxy is just a middleman server basically that passes on information for a request and passes them back. It's good for a number of things, including anonymity. If you don't want people to know who you are or where you're making the request from, a proxy server may be good for this. Think VPN when you think of a proxy server as well. And then firewalls. Firewalls are just pieces of software or hardware that control access. Basically, you can set up rules that explicitly allow or deny requests based on rules that you have set up. Every single one of these concepts is going to become almost immediately important as we get into the cloud. So Checkpoint Lab is on Tuesday. Starting next Sunday, all this stuff will come right back to your face as we get into AWS, and you'll sort of see why. I think J5 already asked it, like, why didn't we just do this in AWS? You'll see how the cloud has kind of changed things to where you don't need if all this has been scary for you so far, you do not need to know. You don't need to know how to set up these things manually anymore, but you do need to understand the concept is very important. I'll show you guys how to set up all this stuff again in the way that at least AWS wants you to do it, or the way that the cloud has kind of mentally, the paradigm in which it has set for these things. But all of it's going to start to come together a lot more once we get into this cloud section. We're going to really start to, after we do this Checkpoint Lab, we're really going to start combining all this information. I'm hoping it's going to start to it's going to add some context to everything that we're learning for sure. But yes, thank you. I got a lot to say. Awesome. Second time more sticks in my mind. Yeah, that's 100%. You might have to go over this stuff lots of times. It takes me a lot of time sometimes to go through something before it sticks, before I really get it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Because there's times when I don't understand something and I'm still able to implement a solution using the documentation and the things that I've learned in the past. And then when I need to really understand it, I can go back and take the time to learn it. But you don't need to really, I think the goal is to, get good at a couple things, but then just touch enough things so you can start to see how things work generally. Most things work very similarly, or at least have similar concepts to how you can approach them. And then you can kind of figure out along the way and rely on the knowledge of the things that you do know. But it is not important that you memorize all this stuff, or no, it's impossible to know all these technologies, to really know them. Yes, I'm showing you the tip of the iceberg from stuff that I've touched many times, but the stuff that I'm showing you is the stuff that I know. I don't know. I may have been using some of these technologies for years and only know the little bit that I'm teaching you. So it's not important that you know everything about all these technologies, just enough to kind of to understand the context behind what it's solving, the problems that it's solving, and hopefully a little bit of how you can go about finding out how to use the tool properly. But yeah, that's about it. I am my nemesis. Yeah, a lot of stuff in here will be your nemesis. I find this part to be pretty cool, and this is the fun part. When we get here, after the cloud, so the cloud is actually where, I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it. This is where, starting at the cloud is where the current understanding of most DevOps positions starts. This is more of an infrastructure engineering role. And so this is where the stuff really gets pertinent to anyone looking for a job or looking to really get in right now. All the stuff that we've worked on before this are all building blocks, are all underlying core things that will make you good, that you can use to help understand the rest of the stuff we're doing. But the cloud and infrastructure as code and containers, these are the big sections in which you can really speak to on interviews and really highlight on your resume that will get you jobs. This is where most of the industry lies right now within DevOps per se. So I think this is the stuff that people are actually looking for, to be 100% honest, and CI/CD. Yeah, everything from now on, minus the monitoring and logging, is probably what most people came for, or at least people who weren't starting from scratch. You probably came for these things, so hopefully get excited. We're finally there. We're in the 5th week. So we've been building our knowledge, making sure that we can understand what's going on, and to help everyone kind of get up to speed. And again, it is okay to be completely lost right now. We're literally condensing 47 million topics into a 12-week time span. But again, hopefully you're writing down everything writing down everything that confuses you, everything that you need to dive deeper into. And we can start the journey of diving into all that stuff. You can get a job with only knowing, if you can know one section of this well, if you can know how to program well, or know Linux well, or know the cloud well, or know CI/CD well, or know containers well, you can get a job, and then you can build out all the rest. So don't sweat it at all. Or you can use it to apply something you're currently doing. You're doing desktop support, you're doing test engineering, you're doing whatever. You can apply one of these concepts to move into a different role, and then learn more and apply the concepts, learn more and apply the concepts. So it's I don't know, all tools. They're all tools. Would it be possible to see notes in advance of this class? To see notes, maybe. Do you mean so the slides do drop, they only drop an hour before the class, but I can release them, slides. Yeah. So they drop an hour before class. I can make them drop earlier. I can make them drop earlier. I can make them drop whenever. Maybe what would be best? Maybe a Sunday morning drop for the whole week of notes. Cause I have all the notes, I have all the slides done. So maybe I can do a Sunday morning drop of all of the classes, so that'll give people even time for the Sunday class to check them out. So Sunday morning drop. Let me add that to my Google Keep as something to do this week to change the times. Yeah, absolutely. I have no problems doing that at all. All right. Oh, you can't use all caps. I did see it pop up. So I did see the yes and all caps before it removed it. So it was a little bit slow. All right. Minimum permissions theory. Yeah, I am gonna be pretty crazy. But all right. That is it for today. I hope everyone got something out of that. Sorry it was a little bit quick. Again, hopefully you got something out of that, and hopefully you can take some time today to soak it in. If you need to rewatch it back, rewatch it back. If you need to, Google or watch some other videos, again, go on YouTube, find other videos that help explain the same concepts. Maybe I didn't explain it perfectly for you. Hearing it from someone else may be super helpful. I highly, highly encourage that, going out to get a little more information to tie things together. So feel free. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Spend it doing whatever you need to do. Hopefully you can get some rest before the week starts. If your week's already started, if you work Saturday or something, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know. I'm hoping everyone a happy beginning of the week. I think I actually like that we stream early today. It feels weird that it's still light outside and not leaving at midnight. I usually leave at midnight after stream. I do kind of like it. Maybe we can incorporate some of that since we got this guy behind me. I'm still streaming in the evening. But yeah, we'll let you guys know. There's a lot of information on the way about a lot of things. So we're working it all out. Don't worry, we're working it all out. We're trying. But thanks for the great stream. Thanks for everyone joining, taking the time early on your Sunday to spend some time with us. You said go Chiefs?
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. I didn't see anyone say go 49ers. I don't really care. Go Skins. Even though you're the worst team on the planet, you could probably get beat by most high school teams.
It's not fair,
no, it's fair. It's fair. Okay, it's not fair. It's not fair. But I have no horse in tonight's race. But everyone have a good night. I'll see you all tomorrow. Python, if you're new to this, this is Sunday and Tuesday. Introduction to Coding with Python is Mondays and Wednesdays. For Python, tomorrow we are getting on the loops. So if you don't know anything about loops and coding, join in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.